Welcome back to Three Swords Productions. If you're new to the channel, I'm Steven and this is Nathan, and tonight we have Zoro post-restriction versus Katakuri. You excited?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's jump over. For those of you that are perceptive at home, you may notice my bracelet there, and that's me piloting Zoro, and my god, I really love this deck. It is a deck that I went into the format not really thinking I was going to enjoy because, you know, I came from playing green for 2 sets, and I am just in love with the way, just the ease this deck has.
Yeah, it feels really good this set. Yeah, even post restrictions.
Yeah, you have a lot of options for deck building, and you know the gameplay is a little bit more simplified than some other decks. So, you know, take that for what you will. But it's just a fun deck to play. Obviously, you know you have to take it in moderation. Too much red is not fun. But you know, no, I don't want to yuck your yum. If you're out there enjoying some Zoro, me too. I'm with you.
Okay, we've seen some searcher action from both sides. Looked like Shoup Pudding came down from the yellow side there, added 10 drop to hand, and then from the Zoro side, Izo was played to the battlefield, and you added Jozu.
Yeah, the Jozu pickup there is a nice 2K. Now, typically with the Izo, you're looking for threats, not defensive. You're playing like the, you know, you're playing Namis for defense package, but that's okay. Izo picked up a defensive card. You know, it is what it is. The 2Ks are going to be nice later on in the game, so.
Yep. A little bit awkward here. 3 Dawn turns for yellow are fine, but you don't have a plethora of plays. You're pretty much going to have Charlotte Puddings, some amount of Paro Sparrows, but a lot of times you'll see this attack for 7K come across, because Katakuri does that pretty easily.
Right, like your Brulés are not safe on the table, so you can't really put those down.
You don't really want to, yeah.
Now, seeing Sanji come down is a nice way to pressure cards like Izo when they do finally turn sideways. I am holding Magra in hand too, so that is also going to be just a good card when I do, you know, I'll be able to swing for 5 at him or maybe even 6, but he will turn his Sanji sideways and swing back on them. So that was a pretty good heads-up play, as well as the Charlotte Pudding to also put some pressure on some of my attackers. I like it. It's a good start from yellow.
Yeah, one thing to note about, a lot of times I like playing Sanji out against these red decks. You're usually going to play it out on your turn 3 or so, and then when it comes to your turn 4, your 4 Dawn turn or your 5 Dawn turn, it's a little awkward to immediately use the effect on that turn, because then you're left with 3 Dawn again, that's a bit awkward. So, I often like waiting that extra turn, playing a 4-drop, and using the Sanji ability all on the same turn, if possible. Otherwise, it can get a bit awkward. And I don't like playing Sanji if I have better plays to do. That should be pretty obvious. But the Sanji is sometimes out in the open for things like a 5-drop marker to come down, things like a Vista to come down and just eat it for free.
Right, and we are kind of lacking on searchers in hand, like Curly and you know, some of the 3Ks would have been really nice, so we don't quite have those. So we were thinking about playing Magra to make this attack with the Izo, and then play either Vista or Zoro to keep some aggression up against Katakuri here. But then we saw the Shirahoshi come down, and you know, it was actually just you know, with the Shirahoshi touching the board, he's kind of wide enough now to where we just want to build up cards in our hand, make the game go a little bit longer. So we're gonna go with Izo, pick up Haruta, and then play Vista to clean up the Sanji, and that's gonna stop some pressure back as we establish a 3K onto the table. So pass back, and Katakuri is now on 5 Dawn.
Yep, attack for 7K across the table. Is what Alex opts for and puts a card to the bottom of life, so presumably either something like a Brûlé trigger that you want at the end of the game, or an Akiko Sovereignty, or just not a great thing that you want right now. Something better to play out, or something better to counter out with right now.
I like the aggression that he's had. He's kept up pressure, swinging for 7 every turn, and then I like playing Charlotte Opera to the table. Now it does remove some counter power from his hand, which is something that you can get kind of punished for. You know, he's played out the Shirahoshi onto the table. He's also put the Sanji on the table. That was a 2K. He put the Opera on the table. That was another 1K that he had access to. So later in the game, he might actually start suffering from not having counter power. But that's made up for by the fact that he's kept up the pressure. And Opera is not going to lack pressure either. He's going to be able to swing very profitably on whatever character turns sideways on him. As well, if he wants to, he can make those a 7K very easily. So yeah, he's extending his reach by quite a bit. And I kind of like those 4Ks, the 4-cost 6Ks coming out of the yellow decks all of a sudden. Those are feeling nice.
Definitely.
We see Haruta come down. Haruta's been a favorite of mine. for a little while now, just for that exact ability there. Equip 1 Don to the leader for free.
Yeah, 1 rested Don even, jeez.
Exactly. It's like, I'm playing with an extra Don every turn. That feels really good.
It's kind of like you're playing Luffy a little bit.
A little bit, but, with the added benefit of, that Don is a lot more effective on Zoro. And we're going to see Magra come down, and this will be an attack for 6 coming from Izo, thanks to my Zoro leader. Going to counter out.
Pitch the 2K Shoup pudding from the yellow side there.
That's right. That is the 2K one. It's a 2 cost. That one does not search.
And then just establishing where the Dawn should go for the rest of attacks here. Looks like 6K coming across at the Katakuri. Another 2K pitch out. And Zoro coming in, replacing the tapped one, importantly. And you can option both ways, whether to attack or not to attack. I could understand both, but looks like that was a counter out. Not enough there, because that's a cracker. So instead, taking the life. Okay.
And that's going to put him down to 3, so we are starting to look a little bit scary on his side of the table here. And yeah, replace the tapped character. Doesn't give him too much to attack me back with.
Yeah. Looks like that card in life was a cracker itself, so was able to just play a cracker out, which is pretty good.
Now that's pretty good. Yeah, that is actually very good. As that's going to give him another card to pressure my life.
Yeah.
Another card to pressure the Zoro with as well. So, if he was going to keep up in this matchup, I definitely chose to go a bit wider here with my deck building, and he's going to be able to contest that pretty easily. So. We'll see if I have enough pressure. This should see all these characters should see him take cards out of my hand. As we try and keep him off of putting me in kill range just from 10 drops, cards like that. So we'll see if he's able to create enough space for the 10 drops to be effective in this matchup.
We'll see if he even goes for 10 drops. He pitched a 10 drop to the
correct
the Charlotte Cracker ability, so he might just be playing a game where he said, I'm not going to care about that. I'm just going to play these mid-rangey threats and the operas and the crackers. And
yeah, we're going to see another opera come down, so it's a good amount of big characters from his side. So it's going to be a little tough for me. And we do finally pick up a really powerful searcher, so we've got the Curly Dan now. That's going to open us up for more Izos, more Namis. That's going to open us up for even more aggression in the future, but right now we're dealing with 4 characters on our board, so this might actually be a good turn to turn our character sideways and have him attack our board back on the following turn.
Yeah, I think right now what we're seeing is a little bit of the difference of Katakuri versus Linlin, right? We've seen both of those yellow leaders doing pretty well in different aspects, but the Katakuri is just a little bit better playing that mid-range game, whereas the Linlin comes on later in the game. And Katakuri's been able to do all these attacks for 7 and get your life lower, so you feel a little bit awkward right now, it feels like.
Oh yeah, no, these lines were brought to you absolutely by having Charlotte Opera in your deck, because if you were stuck playing 7-drop or 8-drop, you really can't even afford to make the 7K attacks. Suddenly it's a lot easier to counter out. And yeah, it seems to be beating me pretty badly. I'm dropping my cards. Got a lot of clumsy.
So flustered, yes.
Yeah, I've got a lot of clumsy on me today.
Got a lot of. Did you pack it?
No, I wore it. You can see it. I'm wearing it. Yeah.
What did the Dan add there? I missed that one. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. I dropped cards somewhere.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Added a card.
Makino. It was Makino.
Oh, Makino's pretty good.
Makino picking up was
definitely good.
Pretty good. Now we have to consider: do we put Makino on the table? But we're at a character limit now, so it's gonna be a little bit tough. We're gonna swing with Haruta,
and for you, that's a big attack. Attacking with Haruta is a big deal for you.
We've got a second Haruta in hand. It's another 3K. It's a bit. Having 2 Haruta on the table is not nearly as effective as having 1, because the free Zoro Don there is the most important thing. The second Don doesn't do as much, so the price per performance is much lower. Worse EV on the second Haruta. So let's turn sideways with it, because you know what Haruta is also good for, and better than Starter Nami. It is a 3K attacker.
True.
So yeah, it actually turns sideways where, Starter Nami's kind of harder to do that because it's a 2K.
It is, yeah, for sure. Looking like, maybe the option for the Brook. I thought we were going to play the Zoro this turn maybe, but...
So we are looking to restock. We're looking to keep the pressure up to eat cards out of my opponent's hands, and we're looking to restock the board on 3Ks so that on the following turn it's very easy for us to continue 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, those kinds of attacks. And this is letting us clean up the board while also keeping, our board is pretty stacked here. We really didn't sacrifice very much. We've got Haruta and Vista sideways, but overall, we're doing fine. And we're going to Haruto ability, equip that second Don of the Zoro for no reason. But we've got, Zoro in hand and Luffy in hand. So on the following turn, we've got still quite a few more attacks.
Yeah, for sure. No shortage of power, that's for sure. Looks like 3K coming across at what could be either the Haruto or Vista. I didn't see exactly where they're motioned.
Most likely Haruto.
That would make more sense to me.
Yeah, it's the card that has an ability right now. Whereas Vista just doesn't. Vista is now like a vanilla.
Yeah. And it looks like you're just deciding whether you want to pitch out or not. I don't know that you can.
There's some merit to like protecting them, because basically if I do save it, you're right. I'm not gonna be able to save it forever, right? That's the big thing because I don't have enough cards in hand to protect it. But every time I save it from like a 3K attack, that means the next attack is either him putting 3 on his 0 power, or he swings at it with Opera or Leader, and both of those are like protecting my life total. And so that's a pretty good exchange for me.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a gamble if your opponent like wants to do that line or not, right? You're putting the onus back in their hands is the only difference. But I think that is a good call out at least.
The deck does play a lot of 2Ks, so optioning for and he was going to put the 3K on it regardless. Yeah. But like I said, now my Haruto would still be alive right now. That 3K would go again at the Haruto, and I could then choose to counter out again if I want to, and then in that case, then Charlotte Opera, because I think he's committed to clearing my board. He's kind of nervous also. So
I think so, yeah. And then Parasparrow coming down, the one added this turn. Makes sense.
Now it is tough because I'm at 1 life here, and I got to deal 3 damage to him and get that 4th across. And Luffy, not the pickup I want to see. It's just too much Dawn to put those rushers on the table.
It's a bit.
Right, because I'm also being asked to put 1 Dawn on each character as well. So those Luffys are not looking great. But he is down to what seems like 1 card in hand. So that's pretty good. We're going to have to dodge some triggers, which will be tough.
Which I think he stacked 2 to the bottom so far, and then he looked at his top life and kept it there, which could mean anything, honestly.
Well, he's put cards on the bottom, but we don't necessarily know that they are.
Yeah, they could be good, could be bad. It's unsure.
Right. Like he moved them out of the way. Now, when I'm playing Katakuri, when I put the cards on the bottom, I'm almost always putting triggers on the bottom because I prefer to have the triggers that are life-saving be on the bottom of the deck.
Sure.
And so if it's like not going to protect me on the end of the game, then I'll just leave it on top and we'll deal with the consequences there. But not everyone does that. So as we saw, he took that life. It was not a counter, or it was not a trigger. So now he's at 1 card in hand still.
I think if he didn't counter out of the first 5K, he's probably not going to do it on the second or the third one here, rather. Yep, makes sense.
Took that, no trigger.
Looks like you're considering.
This is a swing for 6.
Interesting. And
he went to 0, and now this is an attack for 9, 10.
Yeah, and that's
an attack for 10, so he was not able to get out of that.
Very good.
So yeah, he was just moving the cards to the bottom, hoping to get. Yeah, it looks like he was kind of playing that more so that he could get cards that did trigger on top.
Yep.
So that he can have more like impactful triggers along the course of the game. I typically just prefer to like eat those cards and then look at more along the way and try and move like brulees or sovereignties, whatever it might be like that would help me in the last game. Those are the cards that I moved to the bottom of the deck. So, but
okay, yeah, I mean that was a clean game. Otherwise, you were able to whittle them out of cards, and even though in the face of were essentially bigger characters to yours were just replacing themselves, which gave you enough value.
Yeah, like I kind of hit board capacity there and then swapped to saying like, oh, we need like 3Ks on the table. A lot of my cards weren't searching, like the Izos did, but they picked up like Jozu. They weren't picking up threats, unfortunately. And then on the curly end there, it would have also been nice to like pick up Nami off of that, but instead, it also grabbed a Makino. So just pretty like I wouldn't say threat light, but the Zoro deck that was in that game just wasn't as powerful as like normal. But double Luffy and Zoro like feels pretty good, and if you're on your opponent's side of the table, it's going to feel pretty oppressive, even if it doesn't look quite as good in my hand. But,
right.
But that does it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you liked that, consider liking the video, and also consider subscribing. And if you're a person who enjoys watching hours and hours of One Piece content, well, we've got you covered. Nathan and I have been going live multiple times per week, oftentimes with Alex, sometimes with Chad with us as well. We've got a lot of One Piece games coming at you, and it's the VODs are up. You can go watch the VOD, but the most enjoyable way to get that content is live, and we'd love to see you there. Please consider subscribing to the channel so that you get those go live notifications, and you can join us for the party because it is a lot of fun. We take deck lists, we take deck requests, mashup requests, we have song requests. Like, it is a full-on party. It's a lot of good times, so definitely consider being a part of it next time. That's it for us tonight, guys, and we will see you in the next one.
See you.